Alright, so today we're going to be talking about something that's kind of debatable, and I think a lot of people are going to have some very, very strong opinions on, and that is DMS Kakashi versus End of Shippuden Sasuke, right? This is not the Sasuke that absorbed the chakra from the tailed beasts, right? This is just the Sasuke that fought against Kaguya versus the Kakashi, DMS Kakashi that fought against Kaguya as well. These are the perfect people to kind of pit against each other, and I haven't seen too many people do this, because these characters are facing the same threat, and they gain some similar powers, you know, the Susanoo, and we can kind of compare how they do against her, right? So, there's a couple of things I want to say about each character before I kind of decide who exactly is going to win in a fight, and that's kind of like narrating their fight against Kaguya, right? So during the fight with Kaguya, Sasuke doesn't really do too much, honestly. I was looking through the panels, right? I reread the whole fight, and he alongside with Naruto seemed to both be too slow to touch her to seal her away. During the fight, he really only uses like Amaterasu and flame control, you know, to get out of the ice boulder that they were stuck in. He also tries to use Chidori on her, but is outright blitzed. And she sees this, she changes the dimensions that they're in again, and goes up several meters above this, all in the time that Sasuke goes up to uses Chidori on her, right? I also saw the anime version, the variation of this fight, to see if there's anything in between there that we can kind of imply. And they were in the world where the gravity is super great, but this was after his rinnegan recharged and after he teleported right in front of her. And keep this in mind for later, that he wasn't able to hit her with the Chidori, right? After this happens, a little bit later, he uses Susanoo to try to hit her, but to no avail. And he basically had no mastery of the rinnegan at this point in time. He just obtained it and wasn't really able to use space-time ninjutsu to keep up with Kaguya. She's kind of like ragdolling them throughout all these different dimensions, and he can't really keep up because he doesn't have the space-time ninjutsu ability that he does have later on in the Boruto franchise, right? So with DMS Kakashi and his entrance, we see that Sakura is about to get crushed by Kaguya's bunny humanoid creature thing, and before Sasuke's rinnegan can even respond, you see that he's about to use his rinnegan. You know, you see the little exclamation point. You see he's about to use it, and Kakashi then picks her up before he can even do that with the Susanoo, right? And this is kind of a crazy speed feed for Kakashi, right? After Kaguya transforms back into her normal self, Black Zetsu states that she is now exponentially stronger than she was before, right? Word for word, I've mentioned this this statement before, but word for word, he mentions that Mother gained more power. Both her might and speed are now exponentially stronger. So now keep in mind, this Kaguya is now exponentially stronger than she was just seconds ago, right? Right after this, Kakashi uses Kamui to go through one of her bone attacks, her bone ash attacks, and blitzes her with Lightning Blade, which is a more enhanced version of the Chidori. You know, Chidori's A rank, while the Lightning Blade is an S rank jutsu because it has a more piercing ability. So not only does this blitz her, but it also damages her too, to the point where in the colored manga you can see her shed a lot of blood, right? In the regular manga, it just kind of looks like he goes straight through her, but in the colored manga you can see that it does a lot of damage, right? And this is right before Naruto and Sasuke end up sealing her, right? And that's pretty much all we see from DMS Kakashi at this point, because he lost his DMS abilities right after this. But in the very small period in time that we do see DMS Kakashi, that is what he does, right? Now, if they were to fight against each other, a lot of people might say that Kakashi would lose the fight because he isn't quite a 6-path level character, but those feats kind of go to show otherwise. And he even mentions that once he gets the DMS, that gaining the 6-path power enhances one's ocular powers too. He's clearly referring to himself and not Sasuke, and that's why he had the DMS in the first place, because the 6-path power enhances his ocular abilities. And you could also say that he's on this level because of the 10 tails chakra that Obito had when he was in Jinchuriki, and honestly, these feats kind of go to show that he was way stronger than that Jubito. Now, I haven't really talked about who would win in a fight between these two, but just by stating their feats against Kaguya, I think it becomes kind of clear. You know what I mean? Sasuke didn't really perform against Kaguya. He didn't really do much. His Susanoo wasn't very powerful against her as well. Kakashi did have the Kamui shurikens, which did do a lot of the heavy lifting, but it just kind of goes to show that after Kaguya gets exponentially stronger and faster, right? Keep in mind that Kaguya was already blitzing them. After she gets exponentially stronger and faster, Kakashi proceeds to blitz her, right? So I think due to basic power scaling, I think it's pretty easy to conclude that Kakashi's not only stronger, but she's also faster than Sasuke. Now, there are some arguments you might be able to say as to why Sasuke would take this dub, right? Like the space-time ninjutsu. First of all, he doesn't really have mastery of that at this point in time. He doesn't use a lot of the rinnegan abilities, like the paths of pain, you know, the attractive repulsive forces. None of that until like way later on, when he's already an adult, is when we see him utilize some of these abilities, right? We do see him against Naruto at the end of Shippuden. He uses the ability to absorb chakra. Again, Kakashi can turn intangible. He can't really do too much about that. So there's not really much that Sasuke has going for him that can allow him to take out Kakashi, right? You could say Indra's Arrow, but Indra's Arrow was with the use of a super enhanced Susanoo, using the chakra from all the tailed beasts, which he would not be able to utilized in this fight. So again, kind of going into this fight, I just wanted to point out that I thought that Kakashi was going to get absolutely destroyed by this Sasuke, right? Because just narratively speaking, you know, Sasuke is like usually known to be second to Naruto, one of the main characters in the show. And then you have Kakashi, right, who just gets 6 pass abilities for a very brief point in time to contest Kaguya, and the feats that he show and what we see in the anime panels, in the anime and the manga panels themselves, kind of go to show that Kakashi just seems to be way stronger than the same Sasuke at that point in time, right? Naruto also mentions that his Susanoo is way cooler than Sasuke. Now, again, this is only one statement. I'm not using this to carry my whole argument, but this doesn't really mean that it's stronger. He just said that it's cooler, right? Now, we also know that a couple volumes ago that Naruto was talking to Hagoromo, and Hagoromo was talking to him very formally, and Naruto couldn't understand a word he was saying, because we know that Naruto speaks very simplistic English, and that's kind of emphasized at this point in time during these fights, right before Naruto gets 6 pass abilities, right? Same time frame, and how he mentions that Kakashi's Susanoo is way cooler than Sasuke's. Honestly, that's kind of the cherry on top. It kind of goes to show that it seems like Kakashi is outright stronger and faster than Sasuke, and I can't really give him too many arguments to where he could win. Maybe a Materasu, but again, Kakashi can go intangible, and Obito's been spamming that ability all of Shippuden, so I would be able to assume that he'd be able to use it at least a couple times during here. So yeah, that's kind of where I stand on this Sasuke versus this Kakashi, right? Again, later on, once Sasuke masters the rinnegan, we see that he gets way more powerful. They're fighting these Sasuke level threats that scale above Kaguya. You know, that Sasuke is definitely stronger. The one at the end of Shippuden versus Naruto with all the chakra from the 8-tailed beast, that version is probably stronger as well. Just using the variations of the characters that we saw versus Kaguya, I think it's very easy to assume that Kakashi takes the cake on this one. Again, if I missed anything, feel free to let me know down below. I'm very excited to see what you guys think about this one. If you guys like more videos like this one, more discussion videos, if you guys want to see more videos with other people on the channel, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.